You ever wonder what happens when you mix hot lava and chicken? I did, and you're about to find out. Uh-oh! You hear that? That's the sound of sizzling. Smell that smell. La 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 lava, chicken. Steve's lava chicken, yeah, it's tasty as hell. Ooh, mamacita, now you're ringing the bell. Crispy and juicy, now you're having a stack. Ooh, super spicy, it's a lava attack.
I have a small business too. The one thing I try to do is not have my jingles suck butt.
Christopher Weston Chandler was born at approximately 5:30 a.m. on February 24, 1982, in Charlottesville, Virginia, to parents Bob, age 54, and Barbara, 40. Robert Franklin Chandler Jr. had served in the United States Army Signal Corps from 1946 to 1948, and was stationed in Korea to help install infrastructure. For his service, he was awarded with a World War II Victory Medal. Afterwards, Bob worked in the engineering field for Western Electric and later General Electric. The family held Bob's life accomplishments very proudly, as he had at least 7 patents to his name, including mechanisms used in the production of Kleenex and molding of plastic water containers. Bob was very world-conscious and was an avid collector of stamps since a very young age. Later in life, he developed a love for music, especially foreign music. He eventually amassed a collection of over 10,000 vinyl records. He had a son and daughter, David and Carol, respectively, from a previous marriage to one Patricia, with whom he divorced in 1980. The relationships with his first family appeared to have been strained, as he could seldom contact his children from around the time that he met his second wife-to-be. Barbara Ann Weston Chandler, too, had a previous, albeit more complex, relationship history. She first married one Rang Coleman Yates in 1961, with whom she divorced 2 years later, by which time she was pregnant with her first child. Her first son, Joseph Cole Smithy, was born in 1963 and was initially raised by Barbara and her new partner, Jack Dale Smithy, who was presented at the time as the boy's biological father, though in later life, Cole had his doubts, believing his father was Barbara's first husband. Barbara and Jack's marriage legitimacy remains uncertain. They stayed together until she married Jerry Harmon in 1968. Harmon, among other things, worked as part of the Mental Health Association in Richmond, Virginia, and was a professional magician. He led a traveling magic act, accompanied by his wife Barbara and his stepson Cole, titling themselves King Karnak, Barbie, and Cole, and provided magic entertainment for most of the mental hospitals throughout Virginia, including Western State Hospital in Staunton, Virginia. On one occasion, as Jerry was allegedly out of the house committing adultery, a burglar attempted to enter their home, and so Barbara took Jerry's pistol to fire a warning shot at the steel front door. The bullet allegedly ricocheted and implanted itself into the wall a mere foot from Cole's head. When he was 17, due to apparent abuse at the hands of his mother and stepfather, Cole sought independence and moved to California. Barbara divorced Jerry around the same time, in 1980. By this point, she had established a career as a secretary with Virginia Power. She also developed a habit of hoarding her belongings, in addition to reported and alleged emotionally abusive qualities. When Bob met Barb and soon produced Chris, the two seemingly got a chance to start anew. The new family started their life in a new split-level house owned by Bob in the small town of Ruckersville, Virginia. Chris later claimed that at around 2 months of age, he uttered his first word, monkey, though this is acknowledged to have been impossible. It was soon seen by his parents that Chris was not quite like most other babies. The first signs of his autism could be witnessed in 1983. Despite his condition being congenital, he later stated that his autism was brought about by one particularly traumatic event when he was 18 months old. A babysitter surnamed Roach, or alternatively Roach, would look after baby Christopher whenever his parents would go out in the evenings. On one of these nights, Chris inadvertently infuriated her, and she locked him in a room filled with toys, in the dark, alone. This would prove so traumatic that he refused to speak for the next 6 years. In more recent times, Chris negated this event as the source of his troubles, and upon educating himself further, acknowledged that the advanced age of his parents was a likely factor in him developing autism. Despite living out his childhood as a mute, Chris was anything but quiet. He confessed later on in life that he screeched often and was very troublesome to his parents. In 1985, the Hammer household moved into their neighborhood. The Hammers and the Chandlers struck up a cordial relationship, which led to Chris forming a bond with the Hammers' daughter, Sarah. Looking back, Chris considered her to be his closest childhood friend, and that she greatly helped him with his autism. However, from what is known of their relationship, it is also likely that she took advantage of Chris's innocence and trust, and may be seen more as a bully than a friend. For example, based on Chris's own recountings, she once told him that the character Casper the Friendly Ghost was hiding under her house. Chris then crawled into the Hammer's crawl space to find him, only to find spiderwebs, bugs, and dirt instead, where Sarah allegedly locked him in. After about half an hour, her dad came to his rescue. On another occasion, she told Chris that if he were to eat the upper thing of a honeysuckle, it would taste like honey. This is a reference to the berries of a honeysuckle, which can be slightly harmful if ingested in large doses. Fortunately, their parents told them of the dangers of doing so before Christopher could fulfill Sarah's wish. At the age of 5, Chris began studying at Greene County Primary School, together with Sarah. In 1987, in a lengthy letter addressed to Chris, dated December 26th, Bob offered his outlook on life and presented some life advice for his son. There are many sides to a mountain and many ways to climb it. If you get stopped, back off, regroup, and try another way. If you are still not successful, maybe it is not meant to be. If it is meant to be, having it on the back burner simmering for a while is not bad. It will pop up again, and the way to attain it will be there. Everything in its time. Your mother and I have done our best for you, and in return, we expect at least that from you, for yourself and your children. He also expressed wishes for his son to inherit and hold dearly his vast collection of music, movies, stamps, and art prints. He highlighted the significance of attaching possessions' sentimental value by reminiscing about the straight razor he had inherited from his grandfather, which he carelessly broke while using it as a screwdriver. Bob recalled he still held on to that broken razor for his entire life, because his grandfather wanted him to have it, and hoped that Chris would share his sentiment. I hope that you will not carelessly misuse, waste, or destroy the value of the many things I have collected for you. First, learn all about them, how to use them and enjoy them, their value, and how you can thoughtlessly waste their value, then enjoy them as I have. For example, my very good stamp collection, or all the recorded popular music on cassette tape, VCR tapes, and records, my books on popular music, movies, entertainers, musical theater, ship models, my daylilies, gazebo, and dreams. In 1989, during a weekly trip to the toy store with his mother, Chris picked up a GoBot transforming toy up on display and slowly started to read out the text on the package, ending his 6 years of silence. In addition to taking regular classes at the primary school, he now also received language training at James Madison University, where he developed a friendship with one Joshua Martinez, who as a child had an apparently unintelligible Spanish accent. In addition, Christopher would watch TV for long hours, developing his reading skills by watching programs with closed captions turned on whenever possible. Through watching television, the boy happened to develop an eclectic taste for TV shows and curious knowledge of pop culture references outside of his generation, melding contemporary media such as the cartoon series My Little Pony with the likes of the 1950s sitcom I Love Lucy and other older programs that were being enjoyed by his parents. It was possibly during this time that Chris watched the 1986 animated film The Adventures of the American Rabbit, which seemingly had a profound impact on his worldview, American patriotism, and later forays into storytelling. It was also at around this time that Christopher joined the Wolf Cub Scouts, likely pack number 174, located in Stanardsville, Virginia, as part of the Scouts program, which taught children practical, mostly outdoor skills, while community and character building, likely inspired by Bob's own experience as a Boy Scout, who had reached the highest rank of Eagle Scout. Chris was allegedly kicked out of the Scouts after a short time, confessing it may have been due to his autism and bursts of anger. He claimed that his parents had tried to sue the Boy Scouts of America for the expulsion, but no legal action ultimately took place. In July of that year, Barbara and Chris flew to San Francisco, California to visit Cole for his 26th birthday. This was the first and only recorded time the Chandlers visited Cole. Also in 1989, Bob and Chris converted their backyard shed into a workshop, christening it the Dreaming Studio. Bob had hoped that he and his son would build things together there, extending to his progeny his fondness for engineering. He even commemorated the space with a plaque, which read, "Dreaming Studio of Mr. C and Little C, where dreams do come true, 1989. However, when asked about it later, Chris could not recall what, if anything, had been built there. It was soon instead mostly used by Barbara for storage. For Christmas of that year, he got a Nintendo Game Boy portable game console. This was also the year that the family got Patty Chandler, a Beagle Spitz mix, which they picked up as a pup from their aunt Karina. Chris grew very attached to the dog, displaying a fondness and arguably a love rarely shown for anything or anyone else in his life. In 1990, Bob co-hosted a jazz marathon on WTJU radio in Charlottesville, Virginia. During the program, he displayed his keen knowledge of 1920s and 30s jazz music.
Okay, now we go on to performance number 2, which is Tight Like That. This is November the 9th, 1928, with Chicago personnel, Tampa Red's Hokum Jug Band. There's a great group of Chicago musicians featuring kazoo, guitar, and jug by Hudson Whitaker. Tampa Red's guitar, Thomas A. Dorsey is on the piano and the washboard. Frankie Half-Pint Jackson vocals interact to make this a great session. Listen for some very good kazoo and jugs, and notice how Half-Pint Jackson laughs like scat singing. Very unusual.
1990 also marked the last year of Chris's stay at Greene County Primary School. At around this time, he met Tiffany Robinson, one of his earliest female friends. He recalled that she was his first crush and that they would hang out together a lot. However, after some time, she left Chris in favor of some other boy. For his 4th grade studies, he transferred to Nathaniel Greene Elementary School. It was here where he allegedly had very distressing experiences. He asserted that the staff at the school did not know how to handle autistic children and treated him cruelly. Chris contended that 5 members of staff abused him by pinning him down to the ground, holding his wrists and ankles, and audiotaping his cries. Furthermore, he claimed that the principal forced him to sit on his lap and said offensive things to him. But little Christopher resisted, and the advances never went further than that. Chris also claimed that the principal was gay, which contributed to his homophobic outlook in adult life. He recalled, "I was abused by one, a homosexual principal at my elementary school, slapped me on his lap, said some offensive things to me, and I felt uncomfortable." Even though Chris's accounts of the events could not be verified, it is also not unlikely that an event like this could have taken place. Though Chris never specified the reasoning behind their attacks, nor did he state whether him being restrained and being assaulted by the principal were separate or related events. It is possible that he may have been restrained and verbally abused as a form of disciplinary action, and even placed in a scream room, which was a fairly common school installation for dealing with autistic children up until the mid-1990s. Whatever event transpired, it forced Chris's parents to take him away from Nathaniel Greene Elementary School. To further things, they took the case to Greene County Court. After the school board threatened to take Chris out of mainstream education and instate him into a special needs school, the Chandlers dropped the case. Chris later recounted, "Back in my Greene County days, the principal of Nathaniel Greene Elementary School was a homo, and when I was sent to his office, he picked me up, set me on his lap. Then I would always get off his lap, because I always hated that. I felt bad vibes back then. Fortunately, it has never gone beyond that, and my father caught his intentions on that, and the court battle started. He likely exaggerates, but my father knew that there was a bunch of homos within that school board, and that was why they hated me and my family, in addition to those people not understanding autism. Anyway, from those past memories, that is why I have grown up to rarely associate with men, and why I despise the homos the worst." Bob moved with Chris to Chesterfield County to retain custody and homeschooled the boy for the remainder of the school year, while Barbara continued to live in their house in Ruckersville, taking care of Patty the dog. His parents feared the mistreatment Christopher might have received in a special school and were determined to keep him in mainstream education, instilling in him the ideal that his autism made him special, but which did not prevent him from living among everyone else. It was around this tumultuous time that young Christopher had an uplifting experience that would change his life. During a shopping trip in the Regency Square shopping mall in Richmond, Virginia, most likely in December 1992, but in other accounts he stated it was 1989, he came across the Leonard Bernstein Symphony Orchestra, a show comprised of an animatronic orchestra of characters that is held around Christmas time. The conductor, Leonard Bernstein, was made to be fully interactive with his audience with the help of a human controller behind the scenes. On this day, the turnout for the show was weak, so Chris got extra attention from the bear. During their conversation, Leonard asked him his name, and the person controlling the animatronic misheard it, calling him back Christian. The boy took this as a profound sign and felt that he should be called Christian. In 1993, Christian enrolled in Providence Middle School in Richmond. He looked back fondly over his time here, giving special credit to his teacher, Virginia Sanford. "She was the most influential teacher in my life. During my years at Providence Middle School, she taught me better social skills, how to better cope with other people, bullies, and life. With a positive and fun tomboyish attitude, she was a teacher any child would be most proud to look up to and be taught by." He also forged a friendship with one Natasha Turner, a girl a few years older than him, whose family were neighbors with Bob and Chris in their new Chesterfield County apartment, and so would often hang out together at the bus stop, coming to and from school. He initially had a crush on her, but lost romantic interest when he first saw her smoking. He would also sometimes give her money on behalf of his father for her quote-unquote friendship and attention. Chris would later realize that Natasha was, in a sense, a friend with benefits, as in she would stay with him and be friendly and watchful in exchange for a monetary reward from Bob. Bob knew that his son had little hope in forming true friendships otherwise.
Dear Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog, the cool new TV show, is on the air.
In the fall of 1993, Sega, the video game developer, held a watch and win sweepstakes contest in conjunction with their Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog cartoon, starring the Blue Hedgehog character from their popular video game series. 100 lucky winners would get a $1,000 shopping spree at KB Toys toy store, and one of them was Chris.
Christian is one of only about 100 winners nationally to receive $1,000 worth of Sega games and equipment. For his parents, it's just another example of how well he's doing. Christian is a high-functioning autistic child. This past fall, on his own initiative, he entered a contest based on a favorite cartoon character.
What I had to do was exactly watch Sonic the Hedgehog cartoon, and I'd listen to what Sonic says at the end of it, and write it down for a whole week. And then I had to mail it in, and it has to be drawn out of a hat, and I just won.
And Christian's father says it only takes a few hours for him to master an electronic game and then move on to another. I can't master any of them. That's it for now, and it's just...
On December 29th, 1993, the Richmond Times-Dispatch published an article about Christian's magical encounter with Leonard Bernstein, titled, "It Took a Talking Bear to Give the Name a Young Boy Loves." The boy's father recounts the events of the day. Since this was early in the Christmas season on a Thursday afternoon, the crowd was light. The conversation between Leonard and Christopher lasted about an hour. Christopher was spellbound. Something unusual happened during that conversation. When Leonard Bernstein, in a decidedly British accent, asked Christopher his name, the bear must have misunderstood what the boy replied. Leonard started calling our son Christian. What better name for the Christmas season? And the name stuck like glue. Bob also offered up some insight into the family's situation. Christopher is a high-functioning autistic child. While intellectually his age level is 12 or 13, socially he is around age 7 or 8. He has some behavior problems with his peers and relates better with children a few years younger than him. The Greene County school system was not equipped to teach an autistic child, Mr. Chandler said. The Chesterfield County school system has accepted him with open arms. The article also mentions that Bob had originally wanted to name his son Christian, but had quote-unquote chickened out. It is unclear what scared him off from naming his child Christian. In any case, the following year, the boy had his name legally changed to Christian Weston Chandler. In the spring of 1996, Barbara retired from her secretarial position at Virginia Power, while Bob and Christian moved to a 3-bedroom condominium in the Newbury Town community in Chesterfield. In late spring, Chris graduated from Providence Middle School. As a parting gift, Mrs. Sanford wrote a personal and prophetic letter to Chris. "Well, it's been 3 years now at Providence, and it's all over. Where has the time gone to? The most important parting words I can leave you with, well, are to always remember this. You show people where your weak points are located. Then they will know how to push your button. If you never show them, they will never know. I hope you have an enjoyable summer and come back to visit. Do your very best at Manchester. Put your best foot forward and treat others as you wish to be treated. Love, Mrs. Sanford." The Manchester in question happened to be Manchester High School of Midlothian, Virginia, where, according to Christian, he spent the happiest years of his life. In Manchester, Chris had a sizable group of female friends, which he dubbed gal pals. Among the first that he met was Molly Quarles, a cheerleader. He later fondly remembered them being paired up during a matchup event for Valentine's Day. Laura Beth Dorazio was another cheerleader Chris met and fell for, but after he confessed that he had a crush on her, she told him that she would like them to remain just as friends. Chris seemed to develop a special endearing fondness for gal pal Tiffany Gowan, who he described as a bit of a tomboy and a peppermint patty type to his Charlie Brown, referencing the Peanuts comic strip and cartoon characters. Kelly Andes, though, was his biggest crush. Christian later said that they were high school sweethearts, even though they were never in an actual relationship together. Sarah Bevel was in the same chemistry class along with Kelly and Chris. Sarah had a boyfriend at the time, and Chris watched them interact, hoping to experience that kind of relationship one day. Writing, "It was fun to just watch them flirt with each other. I could have learned from that, but my autism and normal social phobias held me back then." Miranda Mitchell was said to be the big brain in his circle of friends, with whom he shared computer graphics class. his group of gal pals were possibly not genuinely interested in a friendship with Chris, but rather stayed with him out of pity and as protection. A later comment made by Chris suggests that the group had made an arrangement with Bob and/or the principal of the high school for the female students to keep a watchful eye on him in exchange for some reward, academic or otherwise. When riding on the school bus, he used to sit right in front of the bus door so he could always get off the fastest. However, during his freshman year, he got into an altercation with a black boy who supposedly wanted to be off the bus first. He punched Christian in the face, knocking his glasses off. In order to resolve the issue, Chris was forced to take the special ed bus to school from then on, which deeply affected him. He always felt very uncomfortable associating with others whom he called slow in the minds. Chris later recalled, "I ended up with this really worse off, mentally challenged person who could hardly ever speak other than That boy bopped me on the back of the head for his own laughs. The special ed teacher who rode on the bus talked with his brother about it, and he kept him from bopping me. But having to put up with his nonsensical slur talk was still just as cringy and horrifying. Ugh!" On November 13th, 1996, Christian claimed that he was standing in the middle of the school hallway next to the basketball court, daydreaming about Sonic the Hedgehog. He was then allegedly hit in the head by a stray basketball, which inspired him to create the character Bionic the Hedgehog, conceived as Sonic's basketball-playing brother. He proceeded to depict Bionic symbolically defeating autism. Concerning schoolwork, there was a wealth of information that had been attained long after Chris had completed his studies. Looking back over his years at Manchester High School, he maintained that he held an honor roll streak, meaning he consistently acquired high grades throughout his time there, though uncovered school reports and assignments helped to refute his claims, as he had regularly failed to turn in assignments and received mediocre scores. He further protested that he received mainstream education, though his found schoolwork indicated he was often given simplified projects designed for special needs students. Over the course of 4 semesters, he studied Spanish, about which he felt very impassioned. For class assignments, he adopted a Spanish name, Ricardo, a common practice for students in order to better get into character and culture of the language. However, Christian often used Ricardo in class assignments outside of Spanish, and even considered it as part of his real name. For one of his assignments, he had to conduct an interview with his parents, offering some more information about their life experiences. For the question, "Why did you choose to have children?" they answered, "It's nice to have kids." For "What adjustments did you have to make after your first child arrived?" they answered, "Laughter from 4 kids and 3 situations," likely referring to their troubled past marriages and estranged children. Interestingly, when asked about what had been the hardest part about parenting, the answer was dealing with the school system. In another assignment concerning families, Chris inserted mathematical equations into his definitions, likely utilizing knowledge recently attained from math class. For example, he defined a nuclear family as a mother, father, and X is more than or equal to 1 child sharing the same household. He also described adoption as a right to raise a child who is biologically their own. Another time, Christian took part in a parenting exercise in which he wore an empathy belly to simulate the feeling of being a pregnant woman. He wrote a report describing his experience. "Having a belly like a pregnant woman was really an awkward experience. When I tried to get my pencil bag out of my backpack, the belly held me back by putting pressure on my left leg. Luckily, my arms were long, but if they were any shorter, I would have had a real problem to reach the pencil bag. While I was sitting in my chair, the belly made it uncomfortable for me to cross my legs, and while my legs were separated, it put pressure on my private part, which gave me a strange, weird feeling. So, it was quite an experience while I had a belly like a pregnant woman." Chris got full marks for his report. One time, he wrote an essay about Japan's involvement in World War II. For the report, he wrote his name as Ricardo W. Chandler, with Christian placed in parentheses, and wrote English in Spanish. The teacher justly corrected this. According to Chris, the war was a very tragic event with guns, insults, and yuck. He continues, "The Japanese and Americans had team glowering at each other like boxers from opposite corners of a 5,000-mile ring, waiting for their bout to begin. So, the US and Japan really wanted to get it on." He also wrote of US President Woodrow Wilson's involvement at the end of the war, even though his term had ended 20 years before Japan got involved in World War II. On assessing Chris's essay, the teacher commented, "Restate thesis." There is also a page titled Warm Fuzzies for Christian W. Chandler, which most likely was a class activity in which the students wrote nice things for each other in order to promote acceptance. The messages left for Chris were generally generic and bland, such as, "I like your clothes," "is a very funny and nice person," "okay," "funny," "you are a nice person," "nice watch," "you tell great jokes," and "you tell fun jokes." Finally, Christian composed his 13 lucky writing tips, an assignment for English class, in which he switched 4 tips in to what most closely resembles Spanish. Use standard written English. Do not use contractions in formal writing. You must have a thesis statement in each essay. The thesis statement es el finalier estancé de introductori paragrafé. Tu escribes de literatore. El thesis incluye el llama de author y llama de work. Los paragraphs soporte y relate que el thesis. Los paragraphs tienes el topic estancés hablan el unifying concepto de el paragraph. Los details soporte y relate a el topic estance de paragraph. Necesitas los adecuate soporte details. Escribe el literatore en presente tense. Necesitas tres muchacho mirar de puente. Necesitas creas muy bien tu escribes cree sense y es muy logical. Cheques tu escribir muy carefully. From his school report, it can be seen that he failed all but 2 of his 14 assignments, earning a D+ for the year. Among his other activities, he served as a water boy for the school basketball team, the Manchester Lancers, along with Joseph Herring, one of Christian's only male friends. Chris also declared that he was the supposed manager for the Lancers as well. On May 14th, 1998, at age 16, Chris wrote a poem entitled Song of Christian for his class, loosely based on Walt Whitman's Song of Myself. He decided to record his creation for posterity in video form the following day. Beyond just reciting the poem, he portrays himself as the enthusiastic host of the Christian Chandler Show.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Christian Chandler Show. We get lots of laughs and all that neat old stuff. And now here he is, the host with the most, Christian Chandler. Good evening, friends, and welcome to the Christian Chandler Show. I am your host, Christian Chandler. Anyway, I'm going to do my poem now, so here goes. I hear America singing as I sing of myself, and you experience as I experience. The problems of yourself are my problems. These are the young singing cries of happiness. The children's song is song of laughter. At age 6 weeks, I sang this song of laughter. Then at 1.5 years of age, the Lord clicked the mute button on me. The rudeness of the teenager's song, the despicable mention of rude words, and drugs. I'm not afraid to despise the hazardous flukes in America's song. My song that I sing, although I talk well, my peer relationship is low and my loneliness is off the scale. Anyway, that's my poem.
He then explains his inspiration for each line of the poem, and then reflects on his fascination with the Sonic the Hedgehog universe, showcasing a handmade hypothetical issue of video game news and strategy magazine Nintendo Power, which pertained to the video game producing company Nintendo. Christian's cover envisions Sonic, originally made by rivaling company Sega, traveling to the Nintendo brand.
Here it is, my homemade Nintendo Power magazine. Actually, that's just a cover. I'm working on it on the insides, like a regular Nintendo Power magazine. When I'm done, it should have 108 pages including the front cover and the back cover. Anyway, you know, I had this dream a long time ago about Sonic on Game Boy. So that's what I based my magazine on. Of course, you can tell by the cover, switching from Sega to Nintendo. So I started off by making my own Nintendo 64 game, Sonic 64. Isn't that a cool picture of what?
He then brings up Bionic the Hedgehog, Sonic's brother who was a basketball player and mechanic.
And Bionic? Well, you heard rumors about Bionic. He's that Sonic's brother I met myself, who's that very good basketball player and mechanic. I can tell you the background story on him. Bionic was Sonic's older brother. Please, no, older. Anyway, I'm just usually lonely at home, don't have a second player to play with. I don't even have a little brother, I'm still hoping for one. I see about God, that's about time I sign off. But before I go, just one thing to say to the teacher. Enough in English class? You have got to be kidding me. I mean an F. I do not even know when was the last time I got an F. I mean, who knows? It could have been back in old Green County. That stupid place. Eesh. That Green County primary. Actually, it was a nice school, but then it came to Fanning Green Elementary. That's probably where I got the F. Anyway, then many years rolled by. Then you came along and gave me an F. I mean, I started off with an A, and you just lowered it. I'm getting sick and tired of this lowered thing. What do you have against the handicapped children anyway? I mean, I know my handicap is autism, and I'm not afraid to admit it. And you, Mrs. Bird, I think that F is very disrespectful. I mean, I am very emotional about it. Anyway, it's time I sign off. Well, this has been the Christian Chandler Show, and we hope you all enjoyed it. And as they say in the line of TV land, good night, folks.
Around the same time, he made a series of stop-motion videos of races set in his Lego-made town called Quickville, a name based on his own initials. They were made with a Game Boy camera, which produced grainy, low-resolution grayscale photos, or alternatively, low-quality stop-motion video. All the racers featured in the videos were named either after pop culture characters that Christian idolized, or people he knew in real life. On September 4th, 1998, as a personal project, Christian audio-recorded a mock radio show where he portrayed himself as the radio host of his hypothetical KCWC radio station, playing a selection of music tracks.
Station KCWC, and here is your host with the most, Christian Chandler. Bum, 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 bum. Good morning, guys, gals, and dudes of all ages. This is your host, Christian Chandler, here on Everything KCWC. Now, this morning we're going to start us off with a little ditty from old Frankie Sinatra. The song entitled, I've Got the World on a String. So take it away, Frankie, and get that string wrapped around your finger, or else we're going to have some rain.
The music selection Chris plays is an eclectic mix of popular songs from the 1930s, 40s, and 50s, and contemporary video game music. He also acts as opposite callers calling into the show, and special guests, such as character Alvin of Alvin and the Chipmunks, and his own pre-name change childhood self, Christopher.
And before we announce the next song, we're going to give you our joke of the day. And this joke comes from Christopher Chandler from Ruckersville, Virginia. And the joke goes like this. Why is 6 afraid of 7? 'Cause 7, 8, 9. Now that's a pretty funny one. Thank you, Christopher Chandler.
He also invited his mother, Barbara, to roleplay as a caller.
And we're going to bring. Uh-oh, got a call on line 1. Bleep. Hello, it's your dime. What's your rhyme?
Hello, my name is Barbara Chandler, and I'm calling to request a song for my husband for his birthday.
No kidding.
His name is Bob Chandler, and he's 71 years old today.
No kidding.
And the song I would like to request is A Bushel and a Peck.
Bushel and a peck and hug around the neck for a 71-year-old man?
I think so. Thank you very much.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
You heard it right here, folks. A request for a birthday boy here. So happy birthday goes out to Robert Chandler, and we will play A Bushel and a Peck from Guys and Dolls.
The biggest trend in kids' toy history, it's multi-billion dollar.
Gotta catch 'em all. Pokemon.
Throughout the late 1990s, the Pokemon game franchise was spreading across North America, with Chris keeping a keen eye on it. He began playing the trading card game and included illustrations of Pokemon characters in his Spanish homework. He also wrote a lengthy English essay detailing how the Pokemon came into their Pokeballs, with which his teacher was very pleased. The year 1999 marked the birth of his Wall of Originals, a designated portion of the wall which displayed Pokemon trading cards that Chris made himself. It featured original Pokemon which he created, such as a female version of the popular Pokemon Pikachu called Chikachu, and Plautistic, a plant which is autistic. Various iterations of Chris himself also appeared several times. His fascination grew to a point that he would dress up as the Pokemon cartoon series character Ash Ketchum out in public. Around mid-1999, Christian launched his first website, a simple Pokemon-themed effort called Quick's Pokesite, cementing the moniker CWC. It was soon replaced by Quick's Pokesite 2, with a new logo designed by gal pal Miranda. He updated it with personal and Pokemon-related news semi-regularly over the next year and a half. He would also visit the guestbook of other websites at the time, advertising his own sites and asking for others to visit it. This year also marked Christian's first visits to The Game Place, a game and hobby store which allowed returning customers to play video games, board games, or trading card games. It quickly became his weekly haunt. The Pokemon craze was captured on film for Richmond's NBC affiliate's WWBT News for a special report aired on October 16, 1999. The report featured excited young kids playing the game and trying to explain the phenomenon.
How do you play the game?
I can't explain it, it's too long.
Their bewildered parents standing witness.
I'm watching and I still have no clue.
And the 17-year-old Chris in action.
I'll put out my Dragonair, even though it has 60 damage on it. Oh boy. And now it has 3 energy on it. Slam attack.
So if you had the time to tell me...
To commemorate Valentine's Day of the year 2000, Christian wrote Valentine's Day Hymn, a free verse poem in which he reveals that he holds very traditional views on courtship and the predetermined rules of etiquette for men and women. On a date, the man could not pay the bill, so his date slammed her door in his face. The man's coat over a puddle, the maiden walks, then the man trips and pays the laundry bill. Under the moonlight, the couples of the world kiss, but unfortunately for few, they are interrupted by their parents. He uploaded it onto his Quick's Pokesite 2 website. 10 days later, Chris celebrated his 18th birthday, a date which he held in the highest regard. Among the guests in attendance were most of Christian's gal pals and his half-brother Cole. Nearly 3 years after the fact, he reminisced about the event. I will never forget my 18th birthday party. It was the best of the rest. The weekend before my real birthday, my mother and I prepared for the party I was going to host that day. We hung balloons and streamers, and we laid refreshments on the table. At the door was 4 of my high school amigas, and one of them brought a friend. We ate pepperoni pizza and drank Pepsi. It was great. As mother lit the candles, I was filling up with ecstasy. After I blew the candles, I was presented with a big jawbreaker from Kelly, an R.L. Stein novel from Sarah, a planer with stickers from Miranda, and a rabbit doll with jelly beans from Tiffany. We watched Good Burger and had fun. After they left, it was done. What did I wish for? I'm not telling. From possibly his parents, he received a Sega Dreamcast game console. He was also photographed wearing a pair of jeans with a suspicious stain on his crotch. Some have speculated that it was dried semen, but it is unlikely. About a month later, Chris was tasked with designing a CD jewel case for his graphic design class. He recounted the process. On the fateful day, on March 17, 2000, I wanted to feature on my favorite hits CD cover lifelong hero Sonic the Hedgehog and cute newer character Pikachu, but copyrighted characters were prohibited from the project. So, in my mind, I pondered and pondered when it hit me visually. Sonic and Pikachu combined. In a way to escape the copyright restriction, he combined Sonic the Hedgehog and Pikachu to create Sonichu, the electric hedgehog Pokemon, which Christian considered to be one of his greatest life accomplishments. The Christian's Favorite Hits CD tracklist itself consisted of Pokemon, Sonic, and Super Mario game-related music, with intermittent appearances of antiquated hits from artists such as Frank Sinatra and Bing Crosby, and influence from his father. Another month later, Chris had to document a week of his life for a school project. The result was A Week with Christian Chandler, a self-documentary, which detailed the events of his life from April 29th to May 5th, 2000. The front cover features a blurry photo of Chris and Patty, with an unclear depiction of Sonic the Hedgehog below it. Chris wrote the report in the third person, as if followed by a documentary crew. On April 29th, he visited the Books-A-Million bookstore to participate in the Pokemon trading card game league. Afterwards, he entered a costume contest, and since he wore his regular Ash Ketchum outfit, he won and received a t-shirt as a prize. For April 30th, he wrote about packing and moving things from their home in Richmond to their old house in Ruckersville, where Bob and Christian would move to after graduating from high school. The next day, he went to school and used a tripod to help take pictures of himself. He elaborated. During class, Mr. Goss discussed the difference between Shakespeare's world and the real world of today. Christian rested his eyes after Mr. Goss's discussion and before the bell rang. Next, he had trigonometry. I'd hate to be Christian when his nerves kicked into action after waking up from a notey snooze cruise, but I was. Next was computer graphics. It was great for him today, because he got to print his own CD cover. Next was Spanish too. He took a quiz today, but I think he feels confident in his work. And finally, after a hard, odd day, he rides home on a bus. But unfortunately, it had a few slow in the minds on it. The following day, he repeated the routine of taking naps during class and noted that on even days, as opposed to odd days, he ate lunch with Tiffany and Sarah. For the next day, he described his daily activities at home, which mostly consisted of playing video games and managing his website. The following day, he talked about working in computer graphics class and making a Mother of the Year award for Barbara, which he planned to give to her on Mother's Day. For the final day's report, Chris stated that it was a difficult Friday. One of his duties included taking part in a senior group photo. After the long wait for the pictures to be taken, being crowded like a sardine surrounded by immature teenage boys, and having the hot, hot sun shining down on him and everyone else, he went back to the shady entrance. After the photo shoot, Chris was picked up by his dad. And that concludes our week-long documentary of A Week with Christian W. Chandler, the autistic boy that has made it this far, close parentheses. Later in May, Chris attended the senior prom, bringing his mother along as a date. Even though Christian had labeled this set of photos as the senior prom, it is possible that it was some other social gathering due to the fact that the event was held during the daytime, which is typically organized for evenings. Looking back on the prom, he claimed that he was naive about dating, unlike the other students, which had resulted in him failing to acquire a girlfriend during his time in high school. Out of pity, or out of genuine compassion, Tiffany asked Christian to dance. He reported, "I hesitated at first, but she grabbed my hand and pulled me onto the dance floor. We danced for what felt like hours. It was the most pleasant experience of that night, and I thank her for dancing with me then." He stated that he felt her willingness to dance with him meant that she was attracted to him, and wrote that if they were to meet again, they would soon start a relationship. Graduation. The end of high school. The end of his interactions with his gal pals. Most importantly, it was the day Christian felt he had to be recognized for his achievements. Unfortunately, this wasn't the case. I only got recognized for my grades with a star pin, yet they had more fancier awards for more important qualities. I should have been highly recognized for my artistic talents I showed in my many art classes for the award ceremonies before graduation day. I felt crestfallen greatly from not getting recognized for any of my talents. I excelled in math too, for the love of God! I was so jealous. I was a high-functioning autistic boy who came way beyond out of his social shell, only to get zilch, nada, zip, a big fat zero. I felt so devastated and out of sync, open parentheses. As a result of his heartbreak, he only went up on stage to accept his diploma, without looking at anyone's face nor shaking anyone's hand, and brusquely left the stage. After the ceremony was over, he found himself at an unoccupied table, sat at it, and cried. Eventually, his mother and later Tiffany came to console him. His father would look back on this event with shame and anger for years to come. Christian's time at high school is still thought of fondly by him, recalling his sweet memories of creating artistic projects for class and frequently hanging out with his gal pals, all of which were abruptly ended with that gloomy, rainy graduation. But with the end of high school came the promise of a new world in college, a chance for new friends, new experiences, and the first steps to a brighter future. What made him this way? What is the attraction? What keeps us fascinated? This is the story of Christian. In the year 2000, Bob and Christian moved back into their family home in Ruckersville to reunite with Barbara, and in August, at the behest of his parents, Chris began attending Piedmont, Virginia Community College, where the highest level degree students could attain was an associate degree. Perhaps spellbound by illusions of grandeur, he chose to study marketing, but Bob quickly transferred him to a computer-aided drafting and design degree, or CAD, in the hopes that it would be a better fit for his challenged son and his future. According to the PVCC handbook of the time, this was a 2-year degree. In addition to the CAD course, he took English classes and even a tennis class. Apart from study, he continued to develop his Pokemon website and added more cards to his wall of originals, creating cards representing, among others, his beloved creation, Sonichu. He also created the Sonichu's News Dash section of his Pokemon site, where he posted material about his original characters, as well as news and information about the Sonic the Hedgehog games. He seemingly stopped updating the News Dash after 4 posts. In October, he launched Quick's Sonichu site, a website devoted to his original character. Over the course of the year, the Sonichu family grew. He created Soni, Sonichu's pre-evolutionary form, and dedicated a trading card to him. He also gave Sonichu a female companion, Rosechu, based on Amy Rose from the Sonic franchise. After high school, contact with his gal pals was lost, apart from Kelly. He claimed to have called her every weekend for about a year. For Christmas of that year, Christian made her a CD entitled Songs for Kelly as his gift. He incorporated a mini Sonichu into the artwork. Winter of 2000 was also significant, for that was when Chris created his Sonichu medallion, made of Crayola model magic clay and acrylic paints. He recounted, "Late 2000, I bought some Crayola Model Magic clay, and I molded and crafted the first original Sonichu medallion that I wore around my neck with a makeshift chain, which I later replaced with a better necklace I bought from Pacific Sunwear at my mall. After its creation, he would rarely be seen without it. The following year, he continued to develop the lore around Sonichu, which included creating an offspring for Rosechu called Rosie, and designing a hypothetical front cover for an issue of Archie Comics called Sonic the Hedgehog vs. Sonichu. On June 6th, he designed a CD cover for the album Linda Ronstadt in Espanol, starring Rosechu and a sombrero-wearing trumpet-tooting Sonichu. It is possible that the cover was created for a custom album featuring a selection of songs by singer Linda Ronstadt, sung in Spanish by Christian. In July, he filmed the City of Quickville tour using the stop-motion feature on his Game Boy camera. The town in question was as yet unfinished Quickville, made of Lego. He still hadn't settled on a naming system yet, so in the video he spells it 2 different ways. First with an I, then with an I and a K. The tour is led by a Lego incarnation of Christian, and he shows 2 landmarks of the town, the Water Tower and Go-Kart Pass, before the video abruptly ends, possibly due to the Game Boy camera only having the capacity to hold 30 frames at a time. In mid-July, Christian attended the Brickfest LEGO convention in Arlington, Virginia, where he was accompanied by his father, Bob. Attendees could display their custom-made LEGO creations, and Chris seemingly exhibited his eclectic residence of his LEGO town of Quickville, all seated in race cars. In August, Christian got a job at fast food restaurant Wendy's. He wrote he was mostly in charge of cleaning trays, tables and carpet/tile flooring, keeping the place neat and serving the customers with kind, understanding help. He alleged that he never quite saw eye to eye with a supervisor who disagreed with Chris's way of operating. According to one supposed event, he got his uniform dirty, and despite it being likely that he could have swapped it with a clean spare at the establishment, he proceeded to continue to work with his sullied attire, and even attempted to wash it in the bathroom sink. According to Christian, a female coworker gave him a hard time, pelting him with criticisms and insults, perhaps mistaking her constructive criticisms for attacks against his person. He also admitted he took breaks frequently, neglecting other duties. Chris was fired from Wendy's in September 2001 for a number of possible reasons. One of the most popular motives for his dismissal was that he performed a Donald Duck impression to a child at the restaurant, bringing him to tears. In other accounts, he said that he was fired after he drew an unflattering caricature of an older female coworker. His termination was likely a culmination of these events. On September 11th, he went shopping with his mother Barbara and bought a pack of Pokemon cards. The selection included a card for one Dark Arbok, about which he later recounted. "I got this card in a booster pack on the worst day of 2001, September 11, where an airplane was stolen and crashed in New York." It was also at around this time that Chris ended his weekly calls to Kelly. Over the years, he gave conflicting reasons for this. He stated that since he suffered from noviophobia, a term stemming from the Spanish word novio, meaning boyfriend, which he defined as a fear of speaking to a woman who may already be in a relationship, it made him feel that his calls were in vain. On other occasions, Chris stated that he had been told by his mother that Kelly most likely already had a boyfriend, so he might as well quit his attempts. In later years, he changed his story again, saying that he came to that realization all by himself. In other retellings, he said that he simply forgot to call her one weekend, and after he broke the routine, he didn't want to continue. For his mother's 60th birthday in October of that year, Chris allegedly made her a cake with Sonichu on it. In July 2002, Christian apparently attended the Brickfest LEGO convention in Arlington, Virginia, where attendees could enter their own custom LEGO creations into a contest. Chris seemingly created his own miniature town of Rockersville, Virginia. On December 7th, the Charlottesville Daily Progress newspaper published a letter that Christian had written to Santa Claus, misspelling his name so it happened to match the title of the 1994 Christmas film, The Santa Claus. In it, he wished for Santa to give special presents to all his family members and his old friends, including Joshua Martinez and all his high school gal pals. For himself, He mentioned that there was an enclosed wish list of items that he would like to get, including new games for the Nintendo GameCube and Game Boy Advance. Please help my family and friends and I to have a Merry Christmas, all things considered. Merry Christmas, Christian W. Chandler. P.S. Could you also find a local friend for me, or make my Pokemon, Sawmichu, real for me? Thanks a bunch. Christian's letter was likely sent to the newspaper for publication by his parents instead of the North Pole. On December 16th, his mother Barbara was pulled over by police and charged with having a defective brake light in her car. The case was ultimately dismissed. On February 24th, 2003, Christian spent a tearful 21st birthday. For some reason, he was kicked out of English class by his male and possibly gay professor. There were multiple conflicting reasons he gave for his ousting. First, Chris said that the class was reading the book Wednesday's Child, which concerned an autistic girl. He recounted that he told the professor that he was autistic as well, which resulted in a misunderstanding and Chris being forced to leave the class. Alternatively, he admitted to causing a disruption in class, writing that he expressed, quote-unquote, exclamations you'll likely hear from a black person in church, which prompted his dismissal from the classroom. This ejection further increased his hate for men and gay men in general, and convinced him that he needed to launch a pursuit to find true love. In order to meet a prospective woman without male romantic attachment, or whom he called a boyfriend-free girl, he launched his quote-unquote love quest. However, in order to complete his quest, he needed to confront his apprehension of approaching women on his own volition due to his belief in the infinitely high boyfriend factor. This term refers to the seemingly very high probability that any girl to whom he spoke already had a boyfriend, making it close to impossible to find his coveted boyfriend-free girl. By extension, every man who already had a girlfriend was thought of by Chris with seething loathing. He explained, "With the infinitely high boyfriend factor, I am not fond of about 99.99999999996% of the total male population, with a margin of error of the 4 billionth of a percent for about 100 men, of whom are okay acquaintances. Those doofs get all the luck, having a sweetheart to care for and to be cared from, getting all the hugs, kisses, and emotional support, and the security of a solid future without loneliness, and with love and children. And besides that, my autism is not much help on the programming of my mind. Sigh. Oh, my life." To combat his reluctance to approach prospective females, he devised a way in which women would approach him instead: the attraction sign. Sometime after his 21st birthday, Christian created what he called an attraction sign, which was a large sign constructed from multiple sheets of paper taped together, calling to attention any women who possibly matched his very specific list of requirements. It read, 21 and single white male, shy, smart, young at heart, computer skilled, humorous, a great thinker and go-getter, natural salesperson, enjoys good parts of life, diplomatic, friendly, loves his family, peaceful, very creative, he's lonely, seeking a cute 18 to 21 single female companion, 18 to 21 years of age, does not already have a boyfriend, single, average to slender weight/body type, white, lives in Charlottesville or Ruckersville area, does not smoke or drink alcohol, happy, positive personality, average/high income, drives a vehicle. If any men read this huge sign, mind your own business. And to all men with girlfriends except marrieds and blacks, go jump off a cliff. Have a nice day. Smiley face. The large red arrow pointing right demarcated Chris's supposed position during public display, as he would hang the sign up at the PBCC lobby and would stand or sit beside it in the hopes of attracting potential mates. Based on the attraction sign and later comments, it is perceivable that in addition to finding the love of his life, his quest for a sweetheart was primarily a quest to lose his virginity and find a woman to mother him and financially support him. Just a couple of months into his love quest, Christian was met with an obstacle. Mary Lee Walsh, the Dean of Student Affairs, pulled down his attraction sign. According to Chris, she yelled at him in a violent manner and said that his way of doing things would not get him a girlfriend. It is likely that Walsh may have in fact taken down his sign and told him that it was inappropriate, as his methods were akin to soliciting sex on campus. In any case, he was deeply disheartened by this event, recounting, "It literally shattered my heart to almost nothing and murdered my soul." In response to this attack, Christian made another sign, which was quickly removed in a similar fashion. This was to be the beginning of Christian's interpreted personal conflict with Mary Lee Walsh that would make a significant impact on much of his later life. As an act of catharsis, Christian wrote a poem called "Saddest Heart in the World," in which he refers to Walsh in the most unkind of light. Lonesome and sad, the mastermind is very bad. In efforts of getting a boyfriend-free gal, that female dog took my only idea for a fall. Heartbroken, sad, and very lonely, I may never remove my virginity. On April 10th, Chris wrote a short story called Sonichu and Rosechu, The Genesis of the Love Hogs, establishing the origins of his original characters, which also incorporated elements from the Sonic the Hedgehog lore, such as the Chaos Emeralds of Power. In addition, the story features a lovely Pokemon trainer. Her name was Kel, short for Kelly. He published it on his Sonichu website. In May, Chris created a compilation CD called Christian's Anime World, seemingly featuring a selection of music heard in some of the Japanese animated series, or anime, that he was consuming at the time. This included Sonic X, Excel Saga, Sailor Moon, and Pokemon. In June, Christian found work as a salesperson for Cutco, a cutlery retailer. It is unknown whether he actually managed to sell any knives, as later testimonies showed that he was still in possession of unpurchased stock, holding on to some items more than a decade after he was employed. His tenure ended in August, when his boss left the Charlottesville area. Also in August, Christian created a new custom album called Christian and the Hedgehog Boys. The backing band, in Chris's imagination, as featured on the album cover, featured Sonic the Hedgehog characters Sonic and Shadow the Hedgehog, and his original creations, Sonichu and Black Sonichu. The album consists of Christian singing melody-free vocals with original lyrics over 8 songs recorded by other artists being played in the background. His songs cover a range of topics, such as his search for love in So Need a Cute Girl, based on I Want It That Way by the Backstreet Boys.
Tell me why I'm stuck as a virgin with rage. Tell me why I so need a cute girl. Hey, tell me why I ain't never wanna hear you say I have a boyfriend.
Autism in AUTISM, sung over the Backstreet Boys' Larger Than Life. And his Spanish skills in the Ricky Martin adaptation La Cocina en la Casa de Casanova. Later that year, Chris wrote another poem, Sonichu's Ode to Rosechu, an attempt at depicting the romantic ties binding Sonichu and Rosechu. Oh Rosechu, you are as beautiful as a rose, though a zap bud is the flower that heals your woes. He once again reinstates his idealized views on relationships between men and women. If I evolve into your knight, I will protect you with my lance. Speed makes no difference, though you are slower than I. You dance in a field with such grace and style. Sigh. The poem closes with possibly the first utterance of a variant of Christian's commonly used term, sweetheart. Rosie, as often as birds tweet, will you be my lovely heart sweet? In October 2003, Christian reunited with his childhood friend Sarah Hammer for her birthday. For the special occasion, he made her a present, a hand-drawn comic book detailing the complete history of their life together, entitled Chris plus Sarah's Life Shares. It is from this work of literature that the majority of their interactions with each other has come to be known, including Sarah's supposed childhood bullying, which then 21-year-old Chris neglects. As with most of his creative efforts of the time, Christian incorporates Sonichu into his work, touting it as an accomplishment, deciding to depict all people as Sonichus, with Chris and Sarah portrayed by Sonichu and Rosechu respectively. He also talks about Sarah's personal life, including her relationship with her boyfriend. As of some time before July 2000, Sarah has been living with her boyfriend, Wes Isley, a magician who does parties. He closes the book with hope for the future. A special note from Christian to Sarah. I hope that we can hang together sometime, but for now and forever, we will always be good friends. To return the sentiment, Sarah decided to spend Christmas with the Chandlers, which delighted Chris.
Nintendo.
On November 22nd, 2003, Christian filmed a documentary of his activities in the game Animal Crossing on the Nintendo GameCube, which he then sent to Nintendo for consideration. Chris narrates this hour-long tour of two of his self-made towns, Quickville and Quick City. Since the documentary features a video game player narrating their activities while playing a game, this makes Chris one of the first individuals to have created a Let's Play category of video in the modern understanding of the word.
Welcome to my Animal Crossing for Nintendo GameCube. I am your host. My name is Christian Weston Chandler. I live in Ruckersville, Virginia. And I is 21 years old. And I play because I'm young at heart. So anyway, we're going to take a tour of my city. The city's name is Quickville. See, those are my initials, CWC. And my character's name is Sonichu. You may remember him from previous letters that I have sent to you guys in the past. So anyway, stepping out is my character, Sonichu. He's wearing the clothes with the character on it. Like I said, you might remember his face. There's his actual face. You remember the rest of his body, you see the whole picture.
Chris performs a spontaneous rendition of Yellow is a Mellow Color off the Christian and the Hedgehog Boys album.
Yellow is a mellow color, yes it is a mellow color. Sonichu zaps the lightning, and mellow color. Yeah.
He also treats the audience with a performance of So Need a Cute Girl.
Tell me why I'm stuck as a virgin with rage. Tell me why I so need a cute girl my age. Tell me why I ain't never wanna hear you say I have a boyfriend. And that was inspired by a real thing.
He previews the extensively detailed in-game diary that he keeps.
As for a monthly journal entry here in November, yeah, I tried to get a girlfriend because I don't have a girlfriend. But I have made up a poem. Let you guys read it. It's a very good poem because I am an artist as well as a poet. I make a rhyme every time.
He proceeds to give a tour of his bedroom.
This is my bedroom. It's a lot of fun, isn't it? Because I like to make things fun since you know I'm young at heart.
Christian then goes outside and comes across several characters who all seem to run back indoors at the very sight of him.
Oop, she just went in. There's Aunt Cootie. She just went in. And there's Elmer. He just went in.
He then travels to his house on Quickville Island to reveal that he mostly uses that property for extra storage.
I use mine as storage for the extra items I don't have room for at home.
He reasserts his brand loyalty for Nintendo and decries their competitors.
Speaking of which, you should make this Sonic Heroes should be Nintendo GameCube exclusive because Xbox and PlayStation 2, my opinion is the same as yours. They both stink. Yeah, I do not even own them. I don't even want them. That goes double for the PS1 as well. But if you want to know my game systems, I had my GameCube for about almost a year and a half now. Got it on May 31st, 2002. I got your SNES, Nintendo 64, NES. I got the Genesis 301 with the original Genesis, 32X, and Sega CD, as well as Sega Dreamcast, and the Sega Saturn. So I got mostly all of them. I've been a Sonic fan forever, and that's why I'm glad that Sonic came to Nintendo.
He mentions that he likes to keep his surroundings clean by picking weeds.
Oh, look at this. There's a weed. I pick weeds, keeps my town clean, as well as Quick City.
He also likes to keep active.
I usually like to run, it keeps me going faster.
He introduces the viewers to his character, Crystal.
Anyway, this is Crystal. She's wearing the Rose Chew look. There's a zap button on the door. I got Sonichu's Rose Chew's mug right here.
Near the end, Chris proclaims that he is high-functioning autistic.
And to answer the all-important question, what is the meaning of HFA with the two red eyes? I will tell you. Got that? That means high functionally autism because that's what I am. I'm functionally autistic. I may have autism, but since I'm high functional, I can do a lot of things. I mean, otherwise, I wouldn't be able to do this documentary I'm doing right now. But anyway, for the submission of Nintendo Power, this has been a documentary narrated by Christian Weston Chandler. Thank you very much, and I hope that you will consider this for publication. Bye now.
Christian started 2004 with a New Year's resolution to find a girlfriend. On January 3rd, he drew a Sonichu comic strip, which also featured Rose Chew and Black Sonichu, the first time he included his characters in an illustrated storytelling setting. On the 6th, he went to get an eye exam. The optometrist in question happened to be Dr. David Chandler, Chris's half-brother from Bob's first marriage, who informed him for the first time that he had an 8-year-old niece named Savannah. On January 16th, he wrote an email to one John concerning their involvement in organizing a weekly Pokemon Game League activity held at the Game and Hobby Place in Charlottesville, revealing that the aforementioned John was the host, while Christian co-hosted. He attached a flyer he made advertising the event. On January 18th, he wrote Hard Love Quest, a poem concerning his difficulties in finding a boyfriend-free girl. Without girlfriend love, he feels an older age, as he is still stuck as a virgin with rage. He searched low and high to the end. The only delay is the fear of being already beaten by a boyfriend! On January 31st, Christian wrote in his diary, "Well, it's the end of another month, and I still don't have a girlfriend. Maybe my latest idea, the Sonichu's News Dash newsletter, will make the ladies take notice of me." The newsletter in question was a revamp of his previous website-only effort, now serving as an outlet for Christian's creative ideas concerning Sonichu, his poetry, and his romantic pursuits. Issue 1 featured a couple of skits starring Sonichu, the poem Saddest Heart in the World, and a personal ad for himself, which was not unlike his attraction sign. Christian is a very shy and very thoughtful person, and will only accept person-to-person encounters. When getting his attention, approach and say hi to him. Do not flirt from a distance, he will not be able to notice. To find Christian, he'll be wearing the Sonichu medallion. In addition to posting a digital copy onto his website, he distributed printed copies of the newsletter around PVCC campus as an alternative to his attraction sign. This must have caught the attention of Mary Lee Walsh, who issued a cease and desist order. In an email dated February 1st, Chris tried to settle the dispute, while also addressing one Susan Hannafin, the PVCC guidance counselor. "Mary, I've slept on it, and I have realized that note hanging is not the way to get attention, and I don't really want to meet with either you nor Susan, no offense. I'll tell you what, let's forget the meeting, and if you will allow my newsletter to stay in distribution, I will do all of the following. I will never hang notes on the wall again. I'll consider stopping my silent treatment on Susan. I'll consider knocking you and Susan up my scale of respect each by 2 points. 0 equals no respect, 10 equals respect." Walsh replied, ignoring his plea bargaining, and insisted that they meet the following week. On February 9th, Christian recounted the events of the meeting. Mary Lee Walsh made it illegal to distribute the news dash. "I am very angry at that XXXXX. In response, I plan to incite the masses and hope they demand the return of the news dash so my chances on getting a girlfriend can be restored. I have also declared war on them as well." It was allegedly during this meeting where he performed his Kamehameha attack, which consisted of Chris mimicking the hand motion of the Kamehameha attack move from the anime series Dragon Ball, and cursing people into experiencing bad luck by shouting Kamehameha. However, it is not certain whether he was inspired by the original occurrence of the Kamehameha or its parody featured in another anime, Excel Saga, to which Chris has definitely been exposed. The victim of this performative attack in this case was Mary Lee Walsh. In addition, he sent her an email which purportedly communicated his dislike for her, and came attached with a supposed drawing depicting his intimidating glare, which likely encouraged Walsh to initiate disciplinary actions. In March, Chris claimed that the kerfuffle concerning Walsh got his parents upset too. That XXXXX, Mary Lee Walsh, got on my and my parents' nerves. All I'd been doing was trying to get a girlfriend. Is that too much to ask? I am very devastated due to my shattered heart that XXXXX caused unto me. My life sucks. Completely disregarding her demands, he published issue 3 of Sonichu's News Dash, with most of the content themes remaining unaltered. However, his requirements for a boyfriend-free girl were slightly tweaked. He was now looking for 18 to 22-year-olds, since he had just turned 22 himself. Aside from the News Dash, Christian developed numerous other means of enticing potential mates, such as paper-made cards, labels, pamphlets, and Cupid arrows. In May 2004, Nintendo Power Magazine published an article highlighting Christian's Animal Crossing video, referring to Chris only as Sonichu. Simply amazing. There's no other way to describe what we received from Sonichu of Quickville, a full video documentary that walked us through his daily life. His opulent manor contained every manner of furniture. Quickville's landscape was filled to the bursting point with all the animals who'd moved to his well-tended town. And Sonichu has customized everything about his town. Even many villagers have followed his bold trends, wearing the patterns he has created. This apparently got the attention of PVCC's newspaper, The Forum, which featured Christian and Sonichu in an exclusive report. PVCC student Christian Chandler has dedicated many hours to his pastime. He is the creator of Sonichu, the electric hedgehog Pokemon. Like Sonic, Sonichu can run at high speeds. During Supersonic's battle against the perfect Chaos Monster, Sonic Adventure DX for GameCube, Supersonic was spat out by the monster and collided with a bystanding Pikachu, Chandler explained. According to his story, the power from the Chaos Emeralds transformed Pikachu into Sonichu. Chandler and the world he created for Sonichu were featured in the May 2004 issue of Nintendo Power. The place is called Quickville. The Quick prefix are his initials, Christian Weston Chandler. Nintendo Power was apparently impressed with Chandler's work. During all this rigmarole, he continued to publish his News Dash, but he updated his personal contact information to include a link to his profile on the online dating site Match.com, which he created to aid in his love quest. It was also at around this time that he opened an account on social media site MySpace. He introduced himself. I enjoy drawing, listening to music, playing video games and TCG. I also like anime, Legos, and I love my parents. I also enjoy web design. He proceeds to list all the gaming consoles in his possession, finishing with the Pokemon catchphrase, "Gotta catch 'em all." Interestingly, he listed his occupation as student/cartoonist. He explores his most desperate desires in his blurb. I am a bit shy, but I would enjoy the company of a beautiful girl who likes some of the things I do. I also like to have fun when I can, and I don't really like to be alone. I graduated from high school on the honor roll, and I'm doing very well at PVCC. A lot of men make false promises to their girlfriends, but I am totally different. When it comes to what I can offer, I can seriously promise care, respect, empathy, and love. I think that most girls deserve the world, and I would do my best to give it to them. On May 29th, 2004, he attended the Anime Mid-Atlantic Convention for the first time, staying there for only the first day of the 3-day convention, where he met noted voice actress Monica Rial. She also sings opera very nicely, and she is a very nice, fun, and sweet person to hang around with. She sure made my day a sweet one. ;8, close parentheses. In Sonichu's News Dash issue 5, he introduced 3 new Sonichu characters. Christian Sonichu, based on himself, Wesley Sonichu, his quote-unquote rival who is based on Sarah Hammer's boyfriend Wes Isley, and Sarahama Rosechu, evidently named after Sarah herself. On May 30th, to celebrate the 24-year wedding anniversary of his parents, Chris made them a present, a dramatic retelling of the family's life via Animal Crossing. Through this videographic endeavor, he delves deep into the family's history.
Hi, Mom and Dad. How are you doing? This is my little present for y'all. A little documentary for y'all. Here in Animal Crossing for Nintendo GameCube. About how y'all were and how you are now and so forth. So, take a trip back in time with me, won't you? As we explore how each of you were.
Of course, first we'll travel back in time to the time of good old Robert Franklin Chandler Jr. He was a hip youngster back in his day. Let's take a look inside his chateau and see what describes him as him. He collects records, and he's got lots of them. He's got so many shelves. He might call him a record case. Yeah.
Chris reveals that Bob has Cherokee ancestry.
He was born at Cherokee in Texas. Actually, he was like 1/16 Cherokee. But that's why we have this totem pole here. This Chinese lion here, that's he's been to Korea for World War II, I believe it was. And he got Conduct Medal of Honor, which that's what this is right here.
He performs the same type of tour for Barbara.
But back there, she went to school, and she worked hard. And see these shirt here, that's her school colors, blue and white, because back in high school, she was a cheerleader. Bum bum, sis boom ba, yay yay, la la la. Hell yeah, she likes the get old stuff as well, so she's got a little tea set here. And we got a kitchen, fridge, and a stove. Here's a little fan to keep cool with. Keep food in this little pantry. And she keeps her brooms and mops in the old closet here. Although somebody brought the mop, somebody wanted to clean up. You put your garbage in the garbage can. And this is the sad part. In some places now, in very few houses nowadays, but what happened in the old days, the bathroom was in the same room as the kitchen. But luckily, we always remember to wash our hands with soap and water. Yeah. Anyway, that's just in the days of old. Nowadays, she does have a private bathroom. Yeah.
Chris explains how his parents first met.
They met over at May's pub, see. Yeah. Mom was just sitting down with her friend. She was watching Bobby sing up here. And well, she really liked his singing, so as father put it, she went up to him and as he passed by, changed the thermostat. Yeah. Anyway, she chased him down the hallway and cornered him. And then after that, they just talked things out, and they got to know each other, found common things. Bob, do you take this woman to be your lovely wed wife, to love and hold and cherish and to honor? I do. And do you, Barbara, take this man to be your lawfully wedded husband, to love and cherish and to honor forever? I do. I now pronounce you man and wife, you may kiss the bride. Whoopee!
After reenacting the wedding, Christian introduces himself into the picture.
But anyway, when first comes love, then comes marriage, then they come along with their baby carriage, and that's where I came in. Born in February 1982 was me.
He gives himself a tour of his own room.
So anyway, this is my bedroom.
And then returns to Bob's room.
As a little retribution for how things were, we're going to play a little number on the jukebox here. But since we don't have side-by-side on recording, we're going to play Sitting Under the Apple Tree.
He proceeds to let the 1942 song Don't Sit Under the Apple Tree play in full.
And there you have it, nice little blast from past. And now for my mom and dad, a little something special for this video. This is my way of saying happy anniversary to y'all. Coming up next.
The video cuts to a drawing made with Mario Paint, which says, "To Mom and Dad, happy anniversary. Thank you both for my birth. Love, Christian C." In July, Chris began going to Charlottesville Fashion Square, attraction sign in hand, to seek out fellow mates. Evidently, his current practice did not yield promising results, as in a diary entry dated August 1st, he announced, "Well, it's another month, still no girlfriend. But I have a new idea that I'm sure will reel in a girlfriend on a fateful red string." The idea concerning red string consisted of Christian tying a red string to a paper heart on which "Pick me up and bring me to my owner" was written. The significance of using a red string was most likely a reference to its appearance in the anime Excel Saga and is a well-known symbol in many Asian cultures. At the mall, Chris would throw the heart at prospective partners in the hopes that they would pick up the heart, which would prompt Chris to pull the string in along with the heart and woman attached to it, as if he were fishing. It cannot be determined how successful this strategy would have been, because just 4 days after he employed the red string of fate, a mall security guard, which Chris referred to as a jerk cop, put an end to it. In August, Chris shifted focus away from Pokemon and centered his attention on Yu-Gi-Oh!, a similarly themed card game. He began making his own custom cards and attended his first Yu-Gi-Oh! Tournament at the Game Place, where he met Megan Schroeder. Over the months of getting to know Megan, I grew fond of her, although at that time, and up to now, she wasn't interested in a lovely relationship. I've bided to her wishes and requests. I am truly fond of her. Since he and Megan had Yu-Gi-Oh! As a common interest, Christian only intensified his obsession with the game, creating more and more custom Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards, with one depicting Crystal, Christian's make-believe female twin. He also designed a girlfriend's gift card, on which the illustrated girlfriend looks suspiciously like the sister. On September 4th, Christian reflected on his love quest so far. While I was at the mall for the 8th week today, I realized something. Since I have been using a sign to state my being single and lonesome towards an 18 to 22-year-old boyfriend-free woman, I, in the event, was trying to sell myself like a new car. I may be able to put that idea to good use. 2 days later, Chris's love quest was interrupted by a jerk cop. I told that jerk cop off when I pulled some of my fun cards and told my lonesome virgin story, intimidated him and shouted "No!" into his face. In short, today was my Independence Day, but I'm still alone. On September 11th, his search for love took a turn for the worse. I was not bothering anyone at the mall today while I was trying to sell myself when I got arrested for trying. I fortunately did not go to jail, but I have been stripped of my right to go to the mall by myself. I would be required to bring my mom or dad with me. My independence and my soul were practically murdered. Open parentheses, 8, open parentheses. Chris's run of misfortune climaxed when only 5 days later, the school board of PVCC suspended him for 1 year. My dad is bloodthirsty for revenge as well. He's going to write to US President George W. Bush Jr. and Laura Bush to help me get allowed back to PVCC. We all curse death upon that XXXXX Mary Lee Walsh, greater than 8, open parentheses. In conjunction with his suspension, he was required to take anger management classes, get a psychological evaluation, and receive social skills counseling. 10 days after the event, he lamented over his inability to go to PVCC or the mall, and confessed that he would be asking Santa Claus for a girlfriend this Christmas. Despite his bans from the college and the fashion square, he decided to continue with his search for a boyfriend-free girl, but relocated to the University of Virginia's campus to do so. However, this move wasn't for long, as Christian was allowed back to the fashion square in November. Regardless, he went back to UVA for a different kind of engagement, in the form of a mandatory psychiatric evaluation. There are apparently more of such documented examinations in existence, but this is the only one so far which has been made public. The physician wrote, Mr. Chandler says that since finishing high school and starting at PVCC in the year 2000, he has had an increasing interest in a female companion. His attempts at this ultimately led to his suspension from college. His attempt took the form of a sign, which he placed next to himself while sitting in the lobby at Piedmont. The sign was a list of qualifications that a potential girlfriend would have. He said that he has been very frustrated by his inability to find a girlfriend, and he suffers from noviophobia. This refers to his frustration that females often tell him that they already have a boyfriend. While he does have physical attraction towards females, his primary frustration is with his lack of companionship. The report mentions his medical record and earlier evaluations. He has already undergone psychological evaluation by Robin Hawks at the Center for Learning Potential. The recommendation concerning Mr. Chandler's emotional status is that he seek psychiatric and psychological treatment. The psychologist felt that counseling and medication would possibly address his obsessive thought pattern and assist him with social skills. She also recommended anger management training. The analysis also comments on Christian's appearance and demeanor at the session. The patient is a mildly overweight, white male, wearing blue jeans and a shirt. He was also wearing a makeshift necklace that had a large plastic medallion in the shape of a Pokemon character's head. He also had a number of Shrinky Dink decorations attached to this necklace. He had a large backpack that he carried with him and had a notebook containing a large number of drawings. His speech was somewhat nasal, with frequent, awkward laughing during his sentences. His speech was fluent. His responses were appropriate to the questions posed to him. Overall, the volume of his speech was slightly elevated, although his tone was generally pleasant and almost jovial. His thought processes were linear and logical. He was somewhat concrete, especially regarding social interactions. He seemed to have good insight into his limitations. The attending physician then attests that Christian's Folstein Mini Mental State Examination score was 30 out of 30, with the required spontaneous written sentence being, "Uncle Spunky is a really funky monkey." Mr. Chandler is a 22-year-old man with a history of developmental delays and autism. Despite these limitations, he seems to have been quite successful in maximizing his academic abilities. He is left, however, with a severe degree of social awkwardness and seems to have good insight into this. He is left feeling somewhat frustrated as he has a strong desire for companionship, although his social limitations prevent him from being able to realize this in the way which he would like. The patient doesn't seem to pose a significant threat to himself or anyone else. After the evaluation, Chris carried on with his life much like before, with neither him nor his parents making any significant effort to change his ways. But Christmas was soon approaching, and maybe Santa would bring him a girlfriend like he wished, who could right all his wrongs and change his life for the better. What made him this way? What is the attraction? What keeps us fascinated? This is the story of Chris Chan.
Hello, my name is Christian Chandler, age 22 at this time. I will be 23 on February 24th, 2005. Anyway, for over a year now, I've been trying to attract an 18 to 22-year-old boyfriend-free girl, 18 to 21 before February 24th, 2004, which is this year. Anywho, been trying for over a year to attract a girl, boyfriend-free girl, and I have failed. And you know, when you have so many failures at this time, you can't help but feel sad, you know, and depressed. And here it is about Christmas time, and well, all I want for Christmas is a boyfriend-free girl.
Chris prepares for Christmas of 2004 by singing two of his songs for the camera. He performs So Need a Cute Girl,
Tell me why I so need a cute girl my age.
followed by All I Want for Christmas is a Pretty Girlfriend.
All I want for Christmas is a girlfriend. She has to be 18 to 22. Well, at this time of year, all I can say right now is that I hope Santa will comply with my request and bring me a pretty girlfriend. And so, happy holidays from me, Christian Chandler. By the way, you can call me Chris in public. And thank you.
Christian whipped out his camera for Christmas Day, too, and documented the state of the house at that time.
'Twas Christmas Day, and all through the house, the creatures that were stirring were my family and me and our two cats. And we wander upon our wondrous Christmas tree with a star that was made so delicately and creatively.
The star on top of the tree, in fact, depicted Sonichu and Christian himself. Chris reveals that his dreams were dashed that day.
And a Christmas present that was supposed to be for the girlfriend that Santa brought, but unfortunately, she didn't show.
Chris introduces his audience to his parents.
And now we wander in on my family. Say hello, Father.
Yeah.
Making our Christmas movie.
I see you wasting your chip.
Well, I'm gonna play it onto VHS anyway.
Alright.
A smaller Christmas tree down here.
Yeah.
And our mother is asleep here in the dark area. Would you care to share a Merry Christmas with the world, Father?
Ho, ho, ho.
The tour puts a spotlight on the extent of the hoarding situation in the house, as Chris visibly has trouble navigating through the hoard.
Can you say something to the entire world?
Merry Christmas.
Yep. There's Big Lucy in the window. Hey, Dad. Look what I got.
What's that? Looks like Snoopy.
Yeah. Here, watch this, Father. He pops his head out. He plays music.
See?
Giving you a little get.
Yeah.
After the tour, Chris documents the gift exchange, revealing the interpersonal dynamics of the family.
Yeah, okay, yeah, it's recording. So, here we are around the Christmas tree. We're gonna open presents.
Hooray, hooray.
Christian presents Bob with a card.
Hi,
Am I supposed to read it?
Yes, read it.
Am I supposed to read it out loud?
Yeah. Read to Mom.
I want to thank you all for your support and love throughout my fantastic love quest. Cooey. And if Santa doesn't bring me one, no Tommy. like I asked him, then I'm going to need some support finding a boyfriend free. It'll come, Christian. Hope you all like my present.
Okay.
Today I'm thinking of Christmas and remembering you all. Merry Christmas, Christian C.
Yep.
Christian gives Bob the option of receiving the Puppets TV show Fraggle Rock on DVD or on VHS. After Christian discreetly implies that he wants to keep the DVD for himself, Bob caves in and chooses to take the VHS.
So you want the VHS?
Yeah.
There you go.
I'm not much for the other
DVD.
Why do we have it on both?
I gave him a choice, remember? You remember he originally wanted DVD? Yeah, Fraggle Rock, Father, that's what's on there.
I see.
Everything that's on the DVD is on that VHS.
VHS worked better than my system.
Yeah.
Chris presents Barbara with a Lego set.
No boring stuff.
He gives her a plush doll of the Japanese character Hamtaro.
I got you Hamtaro.
That's cute.
Yeah.
Who is he?
It's a Hamtaro. He's a little hamster. He's a little bitty hamster.
The family discuss the possibility of a surprise visit from Sarah.
Oh, that's my present for Sarah. Because, you know, she might come over. Well, she did last year, remember?
Chris attempts at an embrace with his mother, but ends up accidentally hitting her.
Here, oops, I'm sorry.
Don't work my head.
I'm sorry.
He does it again.
2 boxes together here. I'm sorry.
Chris gives Barbara another present, a snow globe with him in it.
Snow globe with me in it.
Merry Christmas, Robert.
It's also got Sancho in it. Look, see, you know, one side, Sancho on the other.
That's cool.
I got it over at Walmart. The snow globe.
How about that?
And it's cool.
Yeah.
That's neat. Merry Christmas.
Yep. Merry Christmas.
Now we can go back downstairs where it's warm.
Snappy New Year.
Yeah.
Snappy New Year, huh?
Not on the couch.
Yep.
After the gift unwrapping, Christian went back to his room to record a video recapping the events.
Well, now this ends our family Christmas of 2004. I did get some nice gifts, but it does not compare to having a boyfriend-free girl that could make it to a girlfriend. But unfortunately, I was hoping for her to come, but she didn't. My lifelong friend, Sarah Hammer. You know, she had not been paired up with that jerk Wes Isley. I could have her, but seriously though, I wish she was here so that I could talk to her and so she can help me in my quest to get a boyfriend-free 18-22-year-old girl. 1823 as of February 24th, 2005. Now, anyway, that pretty much sums up my Christmas season for this year, so, as they say in showbiz, goodbye, folks.
As he entered 2005, Christian continued his tried-and-true tradition of pacing around Charlottesville's Fashion Square, hoping to attract a boyfriend-free girl. His activities quickly caught the eye of Anna McLaren, an employee of clothing retailer PacSun at the mall, who described her encounter with him in a personal blog post titled, "The Tale of the Crazy Pacer." There was a guy who paced in front of Abercrombie & Fitch. He'd come and do it for hours on end, just walking back and forth. He was an okay-looking guy, not evil-looking like creepy molester dude. So he would pace for his allotted time, then leave. Sometimes as he paced, he would sing or shout. Nobody really could ever tell what he was saying. Oh yeah, and he always wore the same shirt. A nice little long-sleeved red and blue number that had a gold crest on the left side, and white collar and cuffs. Then, one day he decided to start pacing on the PacSun side, so he started pacing in front of our store. We were doing floor set, and Lin noticed that Crazy Pacer kept looking into PacSun as he paced. And this day, he was acting particularly crazy. He'd pace and pace, then stop and shout something at the wall, then keep pacing. And he also did some singing, even getting into the vibrato falsetto junks. It was hilarious. So anyways, someone, I can't remember who, suggested that the next time he looked in, we wave at him. So they waved, and Christian waved back. After some waving back and forth, Chris took the initiative and entered the store. He came right up to the counter that I was standing behind, and he looks right at me, all fidgety and twitchy, and he goes, "You look to be about 19 years old, right?" He then proceeded to introduce himself. "My name is Christian," he said, "but you can call me Chris. I'm Christian W. Chandler." "Oh," I said. "Hi, Chris." "So," he continued, "do angels have names?" I found out later that he meant to say, "Do angels like you have names?" Poor guy was so nervous he didn't get it right. Anna then introduces herself, then Chris talks about eyes. "My eyes are two different colors. One of them is green and the other is blue. That's because I had pink eye a while back and one of them stayed that way. What color are your eyes?" I was pretty grossed out by the pink eye story, but I told him anyway. "Sometimes blue, sometimes green, and usually gray." "Oh, that's neat. It's funny how that happens, isn't it?" "Yeah," I said. He attempts to ask her out, but Anna declines. He eventually settled on the internet as a forum for future communication between them. Christian came back and handed me a card with a crudely drawn Sonic the Hedgehog and some other yellow Sonic-looking creature on it, along with Christian's name, email address, and website. It was a homemade business card. "That's my email address, and you can just email me sometime, okay?" "Okay," I said, not intending to email him at all. Little did either of them know, but this was the start of a friendship. But for the time being, Chris's contact with Anna was sparse. In February, Cartoon Network's Adult Swim blog held a contest which asked viewers to make their own commercial advertising the release of the cartoon series Harvey Birdman, Attorney at Law, Volume 1 DVD set. Christian sent in his own unique take, in which he mentions his ongoing feud with Mary Lee Walsh. It was recorded on his 23rd birthday, which he could not fully celebrate since the family house had gotten snowed in.
"Hello! I hired Harvey Birdman, attorney at law, to help me, Christian Weston Chandler, in my case against Mary Lee Walsh, who years ago shared my heart. And he has won the case for me, and you have won for me a Harvey Birdman 2-disc DVD box set, which comes out April 12, 2005.
He finishes with a brief promotion of his custom cards, depicting himself and Sonichu.
This is a Christian Chandler Sonichu production. Thank you very much."
Regrettably, the winning entry did not feature Chris. In response, he vented his frustration at losing on the Adult Swim message board. "My entry was very dramatic, and a lot better than that piece of poo, or any of the others that made the top 5 as well. I'm very upset about that. My Quicks Harvey Birdman spot was the best, and I feel sorry for you, Adult Swim, for not noticing that. You all should take another good look at it and seriously reconsider." On March 15th, Christian published Sonichu Issue 0, his first full-length comic, on his website. The issue is further divided into episodes, much like a television show, with a different story in each one. Episode 1 begins in an open field 5 miles from the city of Station Square, in which a wild Pikachu observes fighting in the distance between Sonic the Hedgehog in his supersonic form and the perfect Chaos Monster. Pikachu gets caught in the scuffle and collides with Sonic, the impact releasing a rainbow which lands on a girl Raichu Pokemon 15 miles away, who then transforms into a hedgehog-like creature and calls herself Rosechu. Meanwhile, the Pikachu inherited Supersonic's powers, which caused him to change form, and joins Sonic in the battle, defeating the perfect Chaos Monster. He christens himself Sonichu. Christian himself interjects here and there in the story. He draws himself having one blue and one green eye, as he had told Anna. His eyes are in fact different colors, but the difference is not as pronounced as in his illustrations. He proceeds to introduce Quickville and reveals that he is also the mayor of said town. He then goes on to introduce all the main characters of the story, including Mary Lee Walsh. He saves himself for last and devotes a full page to talk about Christian Weston Chandler. The next episode concerns Sonichu and Rosechu meeting and quickly falling in love, sharing a kiss underneath a spray of fireworks. In episode 3, Sonichu confesses that he has a dislike for pickles, as does Christian in real life. This is followed by the introduction of the evil foe Natesurk, whose name is simply Christian backwards. After the battle is won, Mayor Chandler drives off in his car, carrying the Virginia vanity plate Sonichu, identical to the one on his real-life car. Notably, Sonichu refers to Chris as his father, even though his creation has nothing to do with Christian. The comic ends with a so-called sub-episode starring Chris in a story based on his run-in with the mall police, referred to in the comic as Jerk Cops. However, in this version, he clutches his medallion, says Electric Hedgehog Power, and transforms into Chris-chan Sonichu, who largely looks like a blue-colored Sonichu. Meanwhile, the Jerk Cop equips metal armor. Chris defeats him by cursing him into experiencing horrendous bad luck by using his Curse Yehameha attack. Toward the end of March, Hannah, who worked at Starbucks in the Fashion Square, approached Christian during his near-daily pacing and asked him out on a date. He recalled, "After she left, I became very excited and oh my god all over. After calling mom and eating me nuggets, I left it to the chair with such cheer and grace and spun around with it like a dancer. Then I put it back where it was. I felt that my love quest had finally come to an end, and I so elated that my shattered heart had a full, fast recovery. I went to Starbucks, and we talked about basic things. I showed her my Sonichu scrapbook. She was very impressed. I gave her my email and both my phone numbers on a Sonichu site card, and she gave me her email address. I was very attentive as I took notes about her and maintained eye contact. As I left her, I gave a double-take flirt. That was the rise. Now here comes the fall. As I was sitting at my spot, thinking about future steps for later dates, Anna and Dana told me that when they talked to Hannah, she told them that she was setting me up in a prank. I could not believe it, so I found and asked Hannah. Sadly, it was true. Then, in major shock, my heart shattered again by 85%, and I let out a big "No!" His outburst of negation resulted in Chris getting banned from the mall again. He devoted the second sub-episode to this misadventure. On the final day of March, he completed his second Sonichu comic, Sonichu Issue 1. Pokemon's Giovanni teams up with Sonic villain Dr. Robotnik to create their own Sonichu in order to defeat the real thing. Unfortunately, a blunder causes Sonichu's DNA sample to get corrupted with cherry cola, producing an imperfect replica of the hero, called Black Sonichu, also known as Blotchu. Blotchu captures Rosechu, so Sonichu and Sonic team up to rescue her. After combating Blotchu and the new Metal Sonichu, they eventually save Rosechu. The style of the comic became more text-heavy, with some conversations becoming so convoluted that Chris numbered the lines in the order that they should be read. On April 5th, Chris's review for Sprung, a dating simulation game for the handheld gaming console Nintendo DS, was published in Nintendo Power. I originally bought the game because I needed some lessons on what to say to or do for a girl. To make a long story short, I developed a fear that all the pretty girls are already paired up with a boyfriend. I've dubbed this social phobia noiophobia, after the Spanish word for boyfriend. Anyway, before Sprung, I was afraid to approach most women. FYI, I am 22 years old. I tried to silently attract a boyfriend-free girl, mostly with signs, for over 1 year and 4 months. Then Sprung provided me with general things to say and do, so I felt more confident. When I tried my newfound expressions from the dating simulator, I forgot my fear of the infinitely high boyfriend factor, and I met a couple of lady friends with whom I feel more comfortable. So thank you Nintendo and Ubisoft for the dating advice that this frustrated virgin needed. Christian C. On April 13th, a University of Virginia student wrote a blog post that included her observations of Christian, whom she renamed Sonichu, hanging around the Alderman Library. So Sonichu returned to Alderman today. I am not sure what to make of him. He sits in his chair and draws his Sonichu comics. Harmless, I ask me. Yet, I feel like he knows he's different. He knows that the world rushing in front of him is not his own. Surrounded by the brightest students in America, whatever that means. He sits in his chair and draws. 23 years old. I'm not sure he even graduated high school. In front of him, texts of Plato, Faulkner, God, and Kleist swirl. Does he have the capacity to understand these works? Whether he can or not, I am not sure. But there is something in his eyes that realizes that there is a level of understanding and thought that he is unable to partake in. As he slumps lower and lower in his chair, with each student he eyes reading or holding a book, he falls into himself, into the markers and colors on the page in front of him. He seems intelligent enough to understand that he does not understand, and that is the hardest part of all. On May 3rd, Chris released Sonichu Issue 2. This marked a turning point in the comic as the story began to focus on Christian rather than Sonichu. Episode 7 concerns the Ancient Prophecy, a pun on Sonichu. When Sonichu explains the mysterious prophecy to Christian, Chris reaffirms that he is the creator and father of Sonichu. They then enter the Destiny Cave and unknowingly release an ancient evil power. Chris also meets an ancient leader of the Cherokee clan, who reveals that Chris is his reincarnation. He is told that he has to unleash ancient powers to defeat the evil by using his Sonichu medallion to transform into Chris-chan Sonichu. The story ends in a cliffhanger, with Sarah Hammer and Wes Isley getting possessed by mysterious forces. Between episodes 7 and 8, Chris inserts an advertisement for Axe body spray, in which, ignorant of the societal norms of hygiene, unknowingly confesses that he believes bathing makes people smell exceptionally nice to the point that people would compliment you, and that using Axe body spray is just as effective as bathing. Episode 8 continues with Wes meeting his past self, who is a member of the Wasabi clan, and turns into Wesley Sonichu, and vows to kill Chris. Sarah also sees a vision and meets the queen of the Cherokee clan, and transforms into Sarah Ma Rosechu. Meanwhile, Chris-chan Sonichu accidentally transforms back into his human self, leaving him vulnerable to attack from Wesley Sonichu, who turns himself into a ball and goes for a flying attack, prompting this exchange from the protagonists. What the? Sonichu, run! You don't have to tell me twice, but during the Stone Age... Chris figures out that his attacker is Wes Isley and confesses how jealous he is of him for being with Sarah, who is eavesdropping nearby. Wesley reveals that he only wants to steal the Cherokean crown. Chris changes into Chris-chan and fights Wesley Sonichu, who eventually knocks Chris out and steals the crown, which inexplicably just came into being. Before Wesley can finish him off, Sarah Ma intervenes and fires a lightning bolt arrow at Wesley, pinning him to an unsacred tree, a reference to the anime series Inuyasha. In the final episode, Sarah breaks up with Wes, who cries out "no" while shrugging. They learn that Quickville, which is described in the comic as a vibrant community with happy people, cool chicks, business, and a frustrated male, is under attack from a giant stone golem, which is under the control of Mary Lee Walsh, and a mysterious talking orb. So Chris-chan, Sarah Ma, and Wesley fly over there to fight them. The orb reveals itself as the ancient evil, and announces that he is Count Graduan, who is a personification symbolizing the pain and sadness of Christian graduating from high school. The three heroes beat them off for a little while, but Walsh and Graduan escape, vowing to fight another day. In the epilogue, Christian and Sarah chat on the couch, and unfortunately for Chris, she reveals that she has found herself another boyfriend named William, and thanks Chris for being a great friend. Christian dedicates an entire page to Sarah Hammer, his lifelong friend, and offers some highlights of their time together. Currently, I don't get to see He as much as I did, because she found herself a boyfriend while I was in Richmond, but I often wonder how she is, and if she is happy with him. I share my troubles with her in my illustrations, letters, and over the phone. I always appreciate the little moments I have with her. The final page is a call to action for all Sonichu fans, in which Chris expresses his wish to have Sonichu produced into a bona fide franchise by Nintendo America, which was inspired by a letter Chris had actually received from Nintendo, possibly in response to a query regarding getting a game produced starring Sonichu and Christian himself. The comic concludes with Sub-Episode 3, which is a dramatic reimagining of Chris's conflict with Mary Lee Walsh, who is the head of the private villa of corrupted citizens, the base of operations for the villains in the Sonichu universe, the name of which is derived from the acronym of Piedmont, Virginia Community College. With Sonichu Issue 2, Christian comes closer to blurring the line between real life and his comic book world, creating his own reality. In Sonichu's News Dash Issue 9, Chris announced that he will attend the Anime Mid-Atlantic Convention in Richmond, Virginia on all 3 days. Since he has put himself into Sonichu's world, he will cosplay as himself. Talk about self-respect, huh? Also, he will be watching some of the good anime, getting some souvenirs, and participating in some of the events and just having a good time. Also, he will have some printed copies of the Sonichu Premiere Issue 0 on hand, but if you want a collectible copy, you will have to find him and ask for one. He stayed at the convention from June 17th to the 19th, and during the event, he handed out copies of Sonichu Issue 0 to unsuspecting attendees. 5 years after the fact, one Tasakeru828 on the site Topless Robot wrote an account of his encounter with Chris at Anime Mid-Atlantic. A friend and I were hosting a Sonic the Hedgehog panel and trying to prove that not all Sonic fans are as batshit insane as they're made out to be. That noble goal was shot to hell when the one and only Christian Weston Chandler arrived in all his clown-shirted Sonic medallion-wearing glory and started handing out free copies of his first issue. He asked us a completely unintelligible question, thinking mistakenly that we actually had some influence on the series as a whole, and afterwards he babbled at us personally while we smiled and nodded, trying to look interested. We obviously knew he was mentally ill. On June 22nd, Christian recounted the events of the past 2 days. I had set up at the McDonald's at Walmart, and apparently complaints were made. The two manajerks, or manager jerks, a Sanor comic, and a black, fat jerk. He looked a lot like the leader of the jerk-ops at the mall, whom I refer to now as the jerk-heaf, approached me and took me for a fall with my trying to find a boyfriend-free girl, like I have been doing for the past over 1 year and 10 months. We argued and disputed, until the two of them left to call the police. While they were gone, I had taken off the sign from my Nintendo DS and hidden it on the back cover of my diary. When the jerk-ops came, they were all like, "What seems to be the problem?" And the married Sanor comic was like, "Where's the sign?" And I was, "What sign?" And another argument was had between the four of us, in which I never gave any of those jerks eye contact, because none of them deserved it. So, I got kicked out from the McDonald's, not the Walmart, for the rest of the day. Now for what happened today. I was starting to set up my things, and the B manager was getting in my face. I feel that he really hates me, and he was like, "Don't set up your stuff, don't push me." I was not going to use the Nintendo DS sign today anyway, but he did not want my pixel block sculptures at all. I stood up against that manajerk. I continued to build, and I dictated my situation into his face, with a song and dance. He went up to the Walmart manajerk, and he was like, "Hey, let's talk." But I sat silent for a minute, then I said to him, "I do not speak to any man other than myself, because they all have taken all the pretty girls, leaving me with none." Verbal combat had started, and during the fight, I ran off, still giving verbal punishment, as well as the finger, and many curse-ye-ha-me-has. I nearly backed up onto him with my car, and I gave him another finger. Then I dashed off. Now, I feel sad, because I have nowhere else to go to attract a boyfriend-free girl, and I feel very furious with those manajerks and all men other than myself and my father. Chris began believing that there was a conspiracy involving all the men in his town. "They all are against me in finding a girlfriend of my own, but I will not give up on my long and Taydo's love quest. I'll find a new attraction spot somewhere in Charlottesville, Virginia. There has to be at least one 18 to 23-year-old boyfriend-free, caring, smoke-free, non-alcoholic white girl out there somewhere." Chris dramatized this entire ordeal in sub-episodes 4 and 5, but his adaptation also featured the manifestation of his dream sibling, Crystal, his twin sister, who helped him defeat the jerk-ops. A mere month later, he caused more trouble, but this time at the retailer Target, where he sat waiting to encounter a boyfriend-free girl for hours, taking gross advantage of the free refills at his disposal. I was at the new Target store, just hanging around, not bothering anyone. And, from out of the blue, these two manajerks asked me to leave because they said that I was loitering. I was not! I was there hoping to find an 18 to 23-year-old boyfriend-free girl, like I usually do. Then, from out of the blue, after I told them off, they came back with two jerk-ops. I was slightly intimidated, but mostly annoyed and ready to strike back on them. They asked me to leave and never return. I did not want to leave. I would have left peacefully. In fact, I was ready to go, but I had a prepared speech to say to them stupid jerk-ops. And, during the middle of my speech, they chased me, pulled my pants, and pinned me to the floor. 5 jerk-ops dogpiled on me as I struggled to get free. 1,000 pounds of sausages on my 180-pound body was seriously a cutoff for my breathing flow. They handcuffed my wrists and legs, and they hog-tied me. Not only did I feel humiliated from being the victim, but I was angry at them. Not only for handcuffing me, but once again thwarting my efforts in trying to find a boyfriend-free girl. They drove me to county jail, but fortunately, they did not keep me there. I was released to my family. Chris was charged with trespassing and disorderly conduct. It was terrible, but my mother and I are going to get back at them in court. In fact, I learned that the jerk-op who arrested me was called Baggett. That was the only thing about the situation that was hilarious. Replace the B with an F, and you can see how funny it was. However, after attending 2 court hearings, the charges were dropped. This event was recreated in Sonichu sub-episodes 7 and 8, but in Chris's reality, he endured much greater torment and came out victorious in the end. Less than a week later, Chris had another run-in with the law, this time a minor fender bender when he rear-ended the car in front of him. He was fined $30 and also paid $56 in court costs. In August, Christian returned to PVCC after the end of his 1-year suspension. It was around this time that Anna announced she was moving to Utah. Her announcement also somewhat coincided with her 20th birthday, so Christian and her friends organized a birthday/farewell party for her, with Chris claiming that he picked out and bought the cake himself. On August 9th, Christian began instant messaging one Jelena, a female student, over MySpace. He reached out to her after she seemingly had joined his MySpace group, presumably calling for potential sweethearts in his general area. He asked Jelena if she would be interested in a guy like him, asking her to reply either yes or no, with a detailed explanation for her answer in the case of no. Not getting a response for 2 days, he wrote to her and possibly others a quote-unquote bulletin, calling for responses, especially for those who were 18 to 23-year-old ladies living around the Charlottesville or Ruckersville area, who are positive, very pretty, with an average income, smoke-free and non-alcoholic, dateable, not Mormon, white, and boyfriend-free. 2 days later, Jelena replied, suggesting that perhaps they could become friends first. Chris disagreed, suggesting she read his profile again and give him a serious answer, hoping she was not to prank him. Jelena said she was serious and not pranking him, and asked him how he found her profile. Christian detailedly wrote that he quote-unquote browsed for 18 to 23-year-old quote-unquote single women within 20 miles of his zip code. He added that he had been in the market for a boyfriend-free girl to make into a girlfriend from the ground up for over 2 years, and that he admired her as a person from reading her profile verbatim. He suggested that they could go meet for a soda, preferably meeting at the McDonald's in Charlottesville. On August 21st, Jelena finally replied, writing that she only joined his group because she felt bad for him. After spending the rest of the day in distress, Christian wrote on the 22nd about his family's heritage, hoping to entice her, claiming that his mother Barbara was a direct descendant of Anne Boleyn, wife of England's King Henry VIII, and House Weston, who allegedly were part of the Pilgrims who traveled aboard the Mayflower to America in 1620. He also added that he was 1/16th Cherokee, heritage he inherited from his father Bob's side. On August 25th, Jelena declined his offer of soda because she thought he was desperate. On that same day, since Jelena rejected him, a female friend of Chris, presumably Anna McLaren, sent a MySpace friend request to one Lindsay through his account on his behalf. They pleasantly exchanged some details of their respectively tumultuous lives, and Lindsay revealed that she also attended PVCC. They soon expressed their shared love for art and excitedly showed interest in meeting in person sometime soon. She apologized for having a busy schedule which prevented them from meeting. After reading Christian's blog post concerning his run-ins with the mall police and his ongoing court proceedings, Lindsay expressed her sympathy for him, hoping the case would end in his favor, and looked forward to meeting him soon. After failing to meet at a McDonald's, Lindsay went on vacation to Florida for the weekend. After failing to get a response from her for a week, Christian wrote in length of his anxiety and annoyance at her for not telling him that she would be busy and unable to reply. He said he felt he was putting in the most effort in them meeting, which she did not reciprocate. A day later, Lindsay replied that she was being kept busy with school activities, in addition to a close friend arriving back home from his combat service in Iraq and her boss passing away. Chris expressed his condolences and understanding, apologizing for sounding emotional in his previous message. She did not send another message until October 5th, when she asked him if he was at the PVCC library that day, since she thought she saw someone who looked just like him. Chris denied it was him, feeling it weird that someone could look like him. Neither party contributed further to their correspondence. During this time, Chris finished Sonichu Issue 4, which was merely a compilation of sub-episodes 1 through 8. The front cover features a jerky proclaiming that his wooden badge was delicious. Christian later explained that the jerky's badge was made of wood, imitating those of real police officers. The badges of his jerkop underlings were made of graham crackers, which encouraged the jerky to take a bite out of his own badge, as if it were a graham cracker. Christian claimed that his mother did not want him making any more stories concerning his own life, so he obeyed and stopped making sub-episodes. On October 19th, a user on a Sega forum began a discussion thread about Sonichu, in which members discussed the comic and Christian's personal antics. This is the earliest known documented online discussion concerning Christian and Sonichu. The original poster shared his Sonichu site, which hosted the Sonichu comics thus far, and reveals that he had learned from perusing Chris's MySpace page that he had been arrested for loitering while looking for an 18 to 23-year-old boyfriend-free girl. Others expressed their surprise and shock at his creations and personal antics, calling him a freak and creepy. They noted that his MySpace account was a member of the club named I Just Want Sex, and a club concerning Pokemon hentai, or pornographic depictions of animated characters. On October 26th, Christian sent an email to Nintendo of America. Since he claimed he was quote-unquote an avid game player and owned a large selection of Nintendo games and gaming systems, he inquired whether he would be eligible to be employed as a game tester so he could playtest new games from home. The following day, he received a response from a representative of Nintendo who told him that they had no program of playtesting from one's home, and that all testing was done by their research and development teams. In November, Shoujo Beat, a manga anthology magazine, published Chris's letter which vaguely concerned the manga Absolute Boyfriend. Riko Izawa in Absolute Boyfriend sort of has the same problem I do. She can't get a guy, and I can't get a girl. Here's my sitch. All the pretty girls are already paired up with some jerk, thus leaving me with none to choose from. Also, nobody can tell, off the bat, a paired up girl from a boyfriend-free girl. At first, it's equally hard for Riko to find a girlfriend-free boy, but then she's granted this wish where she gets a girlfriend-free boy, although he is a robot, delivered to her doorstep. Lucky girl. I'm 23 years old. One would think I'd have gotten a girlfriend by now, but no, I haven't. I'm stuck in the situation where if my parents should pass away, I will be a very lonely virgin. Some months later, a fellow reader sent in a response to Chris. Why is he only looking for pretty girls? There are plenty of girls who are not supermodel gorgeous, whom he could date. It's not the outside of the package that counts, but the inside. A girl can be pretty on the outside, but might be mean or self-centered, or have other problems. Whereas another girl could be plain or even ugly on the outside, but quite a beautiful, kind, intelligent person on the inside. If more guys would think about what qualities they look for in a girl, and make sure those qualities don't just focus on her outer appearance, they might just find a girl to go out with. Otherwise, many girls will think, why bother? He'll just leave me for the next pretty girl he sees. Chris's friend Megan Schroeder agreed with her sentiment. During this time, Chris's advances towards Megan intensified, as is documented in their emails. She declined giving out her phone number, and later in the same email also declined his invitation to go out to McDonald's. In an email from December, she stated that she did not appreciate Christian trying to kiss her, and admitted that she is not interested in a relationship, but insisted they can remain as friends. She also confessed to accidentally discovering that he bought Megan a Nintendo DS, even though she had recently just gotten one herself. In order to try and become closer to Megan, Chris more strongly embraced his interests in My Little Pony and Sailor Moon, as Megan herself was a fan of the animations. She even gifted him some of her own Sailor Moon fan art. Christian also began making his own custom My Little Pony figures, including one that he made using his own hair. As an adult male fanatic of My Little Pony, he proceeded to the so-called brony culture, which would only begin to blossom around 5 years later. Through their emails, it was learned that Megan would request him to bid on or buy certain items for sale on the online auction marketplace eBay, presumably because she did not have her own account. She would typically reimburse him with gifts, such as DVDs and figurines. On one occasion, she asked him to bid on a collection of World War II photos, of which Chris was the winning bidder. In 2006, Christian's own personal online spending habits intensified, with Chris purchasing My Little Pony and Sailor Moon figures, pornography, and sex toys, among other things. In February of 2006, Christian finished drawing Sonichu Issue 3, which took 7 months to complete. The comic begins with the origin stories of each member of the Chaotic Combo, a group of heroic Sonichus and Rosechus, whose eggs were created in and ejected from the rainbow as seen in Episode 1. The green egg lands in the jungle, and the electric hedgehog Pokemon that comes out of it grows up to become Wild Sonichu. The blue egg lands in the ocean and is rescued by the Pokemon Swampert, which takes it to the beach just in time for it to hatch and become Bubbles Rosechew. The white egg lands in front of her church, and out of it hatches Angelica Rosechew, who is raised by nuns. After she evolves into her final form overnight, Christian is outside her window, bringing her a scrunchie and a pair of shoes as a gift. The red egg crashes into Nabe's Dojoshin, a place of learning martial arts taught by a character named after the director of the anime Excel Saga, Shinichi Watanabe, and hatches. For some reason, Nabe is compelled to rip off the Sonny's tail, causing him to instantly evolve into Punchy Sonichu. The purple egg hatches in a cave, and the purple Sonny starts to telepathically communicate with the Pokemon Mewtwo, who decides to mentor it. Chris recounts. For months, this mysterious mentor taught the Sonny how to hone his pores, lift objects, mentally and physically, and what the outside world was like. Until one day, during meditation, the Sonny suddenly evolves into Magichan Sonichu. He then farts. The episode ends with a final bulletin, which would have been more suitable for a televisual feast rather than a comic book. Stay tuned for when these hedgehogs meet. In the next episode, Blotchu steals a large gemstone called the Master Sunstone, and through a comedy of errors, is met with 4 of the Chaotic Combo. Eventually, the 5-member troupe teams up with Sonichu, and they take down Blotchu, leaving him in a bloody mess, accompanied by a tweet-tweet sound effect commonplace in cartoons. The comic closes with a fake advertisement for a call service that would send one of the 2 single men in the world a beautiful girlfriend, or a monkey. In May 2006, Christian attained a CAD degree after 5 years of intermittent study, even though it should have taken only 2. On May 12th, he attended his graduation ceremony, for which he decided to wear the robe from his high school graduation instead. Now that Christian received his qualification, this made him more likely to get a job, and advance his life towards building up a career doing what he loved, and possibly even realizing his wish for the Sonichu franchise to become a dignified reality, making his dream come true.